there'll be a trend you notice about having emergency physicians at this conference, although it is for everybody. And look, I'm going to talk about mistakes I see junior doctors make, and it's not junior doctors, it's all people I see in regard to their CVs. And I look at a lot of CVs. I have lots of different roles. I look at some for junior doctors, some for emergency medicine training. I now look at a lot of consultant CVs for jobs. And what a recurring theme is, often I know the person and I know they're great. And I get their CV and read their CV and I've gone, this is not the person I know. This CV's crap. I give them an interview because I know they're really good. But what happens about the ones if I don't know you? I don't know who you are. And I look at that same CV and it's crap, it's easy. Put it to the side. And as everyone knows here, the market for jobs, for registrar jobs, consultant jobs is very competitive. There are more people going for those jobs than there are people. And therefore, you need to make sure your CV does not make me put it in that no pile. So I'm just doing kind of 5 mistakes, common things I see. And I guess it's not just a CV, just to reflect that there are things you have to fill out the selection criteria. You can do a whole talk on interview. There's a whole stuff on references, like a roundabout references, how we use within junior doctor training and speech and registrar positions, is that you finish everything and you really just do the reference to check this person is not a complete arsehole, as Anthony said. But I'm going to concentrate on the CV. And the first one, and this is probably my biggest comment, I think it's really important for junior doctors, is you don't want to start your CV just before you apply for a job. Because then it's sometimes too late to change that CV. I think your CV should start it in medical school. And these are all things I didn't do, but that's what you should do. And it's really like a needs analysis of where you're at. What your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Similar if you have a portfolio, you can look at all those things and then work on them over time. So it's really important, it should be a living document. And what I recommend is having on your desktop, always have your CV. If something new happens, you go to an awards conference, maybe you could add that. Or something happens at time, add it to your CV. So it kind of evolves over time. So when it does happen, and you do need a job, your CV's ready. Another annoyance, which I won't put here, is about when you submit your CV for that job. And what will happen is that you've had 2 months to apply for this role, but you do it all in the last 3 hours at 11 o'clock when the whole system crashes because everyone's the same. Your CV should not change much in the last day. This is your CV really demonstrating what you've done over a career. It shouldn't change much to the last day, so why leave it to the last minute? Just put it in early. Don't have that stress of not having it done. The next one is writing yourself off, and my pet hate is spelling errors. This is a big, big job that you're going to go on to career and earn lots and lots of money. Well, that's the hope anyway. And you don't spend that time just to make sure you haven't got a spelling error. What I read from that is that you have lack of attention to detail at your job, that you miss the tibial plateau fracture just because you make a spelling error. And of course, those two aren't related really, but that's what I would think when I look at that CV. So you want you to spend time to make sure you don't make spelling mistakes. Don't change all the fonts around. Don't put dots, bullet points, a whole bunch of other things in. Just make sure it's consistent across the CV. And again, email addresses. I think really for a New South Wales job, have your work email address, you know, the health one, not kind of hotbabe.com or something, you know. And people have things for their Gmail address, personal ones, and sometimes, you know, they don't realise when they put that in, when people read it for work, it doesn't look great. So I think it's really important. Now, how do you prevent those things? Use things like spell check. Get someone else to read the CV for you. Often, a technique I use, especially when I'm doing slides, you often read it backwards. So read the words backwards off yourself writing. Actually, writing's wrong here, rather than a mistake. It's just a W. So you can actually try and prevent those errors from happening. So I think it's really important. It will just annoy people. And again, when you've got 100 CVs and only 2 jobs, it's actually what we're looking for is a reason not to give you an interview, because we don't want to have to give 1,000 interviews. That takes a lot of our time. So we're looking for a reason. Again, the next one is making us work hard to see what you've done. And this really reflects that we want a CV that is simple, is consistent, and in some ways fits in with, I guess, what the standard templates for CVs are, so we actually know what's happening next and what's coming up next. So that is something like putting it, up front is what your experience regarding your work experience or what your degrees are, put them up front so I know. Often reverse chronological order makes more sense when what we do. Not having too much stuff in, I'll talk about breadth and depth a bit later, but really your Year 12 school results, if you're a school captain, that's great, but probably not for Year 12. I don't worry about that anymore. If there is something fantastic you've done, you won the university medal or you've done some incredible work in a certain area, I actually put that kind of up front. Put that early on the first page to kind of grab my attention. I think when it comes to CVs, you don't have to be too humble. We'll talk about it, and people could talk about interviews, you don't want to seem like you're so full of yourself. But I think with regard to your CVs, you have to be fairly confident and put your achievements up front early so people understand what you've done. That will get my attention and go, yes, I must interview this person. Again, the way consistency is set up is really important. And having different CV templates can help if you haven't done them before. And also look at what other people's CVs look like. Ask about other colleagues. What I actually find that junior doctors' CVs are actually often better formatted than some of my senior consultant colleagues. This is a difficult one. Either no depth or no breadth, but usually both will be a problem. Now, you can't make this up on your CV. So if there's nothing to put on your CV and you're a month out, it's probably going to be really difficult to get a good-looking CV. You can't make it up. But what I can say is that you want to have one or the other. So when I say depth, it's something in a particular area that you can paint a story about you being a real expert relative to where you are in your training to show a story about your expertise. So that could be within research. You've done a PhD in a particular area. It's even better when that PhD relates to what you're applying for. And then it really shows that you've got a lot more experience, a lot more depth in a particular area. And that will help you stand out from somebody else. An alternative, and probably what is more suitable for junior doctors, is breadth. And that means when you look at all the different areas which are in a CV, you've got something within each area. And that's a tiny bit of research, some education, some quality assurance, some leadership, some committees that you're on. We'll project an all-rounder. And I think all-round is what we predominantly want for that registrar job, with the idea some of those things like really depth of research, PhDs will happen later in your career. I think what you can do, which you can demonstrate both, is you have a particular area of focus, such as, say, James Dent, who spoke earlier, had a real emphasis or focus on ultrasound. So you can look at, he's got a diploma or a diploma now of ultrasound, but not only that, he can actually demonstrate from that ultrasound interest. He teaches ultrasound. He does quality assurance ultrasound, make sure we all put our ultrasound data in and our images in and checks those, make sure they're done. He runs the ultrasound committee within our hospital. He also does research within ultrasound about how it changes our practice. He actually presents papers and presents conferences such as this on ultrasound. So you can have a basis such as ultrasound and really build on that to provide depth as well as breadth. And this is the last one. My thought on CVs is the CV gets you to an interview. And then everyone does it differently, but often the interview is what makes people's final decision. So you need your CV to be good enough to get you an interview. And this is really to encourage those who are in the audience go, my CV's not that great, I'm going for a job. It's April now, it's only another 2 or 3 months to go. What I do is try and get your CV as good as it can to get you that interview. Because what I probably identified over a long career sitting on these committees, selection committees, is that we often identify people who have got fantastic CVs and we sit there in the interview, something's not quite right about them. Not quite sure, I don't know, but their CV is so good. We'll give them a job. And 3 months down the track, we're all shaking our head, why did we give them a job? The interview, the kind of gut feeling often is really good for deciding about who gets that job. And there's something when you've experienced done lots of interviews, you can kind of help. Often most interviews now, especially for things like surgical training, have gone right to the left, and they've actually made it very much you get a score for each individual component rather than looking at the whole person. And again, it's very difficult. The CV and the interview will all form a component, and then you get a chance to score at the end. However, there are many jobs that are less structured than that. The interview will really matter. So, although the CV is important, I think the CV gets you the interview. You need to spend enough time on the interviews and interview practice to go further. So they're my 5 very quick because we're running over time, tips not to do for your next CV. There are lots of different articles and stuff out there, and Anthony's kind of mentioned Advanced Med, which does a webinar. It's got a conference on looking at CV and interview, which I'll be speaking at. And I won't take any questions. We are running after, but have to answer any questions at the break. Thank you.